Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Hong Kong and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel a good number of times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the years, a good few different styles, but if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they are just very solid all round, although I personally really enjoy their lager beers. The stuff that they do in that particular category is always pretty damn spot on. But yeah, over the next few videos you are going to see me review a number of small cans involving this brewery because they're available here in Hong Kong through Circle K, and I've been meaning to work my way through these for a little while actually, so you'll see a good few reviews from this brewery over the next wee bit. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is going to kick off this little mini series, if you like, and this one I think could be very interesting. So the beer itself is a style that's very popular these days. It's a style that I've had from this brewery a couple of times before, but not one that they are all that well known for actually. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, like I said, we are going to stick to Hong Kong. We are going to go over to Hong Kong Island this time, to the southern part of the island, and a little place called Wong Chuk, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Young Master Brewery. So this particular beer is from their Hop Around the World series. So this is the New Zealand edition. It comes in at 6% ABV, as all the beers are in this little series. It's a hazy IPA hopped exclusively with New Zealand hops, one of which I had never heard before actually. So yeah, this should be quite an interesting one to take a look at. So yeah, let's crack on with this and see how we get on. Always nice to return to Young Master and try something a little bit different. But as I say, I think we've got 6 cans that we'll be looking at from these guys over the next wee bit, and there are still a few of their kind of classic core range that I have to review here on the channel too. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it has in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Young Master Brewery before, and like I say, there will be a number of these being added in the near future, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist along with a number of other things, and that's being added to it whenever I get the opportunity. So yeah, check out the playlist of beers from other countries too, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Young Master once again then. So, Young Master Brewery was founded back in 2013 by Rohit Dugar, who is originally from New Delhi in India, but he moved from New York in the US to Hong Kong in 2011, and he was working for Goldman Sachs in the finance industry before they decided to quit and found his own microbrewery. But he was joined at the brewery by German brewer Ulrich Altbauer, who had an extensive experience of brewing in mainland China, and he was the master brewer for a good number of years, but then he unfortunately died in 2016. So the current brew team at Young Master though is Edwin and Brian, and they've worked for the company for a number of years, including having worked under Ulrich. But the first brewery they had was in Ap Lei Chau, and this facility had a 10 hectolitre brew house which acted as their main production until mid-2016. But they opened up a new brewery in Wong Chuk with a 40 hectolitre brew house from GEA in Germany, as well as a larger barrel area, and they also brought a fodder in there as well to produce sour beers, and they were the very first brewery in Asia to do this. So these guys are kind of pioneers with some of their wild ales and things that they're doing. But these days apparently they're brewing around 15,000 litres per month, but I wouldn't be surprised if that figure is a little bit inaccurate, so take that one with a bit of a pinch of salt. But they've got several tap rooms and restaurants these days. There is TAP, the Ale Project in Mongkok. They used to also have one of those up in Sunwan. They've got second draft beside Victoria Park and Causeway Bay over on the island. There's Pub 1842 in Central, which is a little standing pub in the Central Market. They also had Alvy's in Kennedy Town until very recently, which did really, really nice pizza actually. And then they also had the Guild in Singapore as well. I think they still have that one actually. I need to go and check that out when I head down there. But they're the largest craft brewery by volume in Hong Kong and also the most decorated brewery in the territory as well. But as of March 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 270 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. They now employ 20 people, and like I say, for me, if anyone asked me about Young Master, I would always say try their lager beers because they are pretty damn close to what you're going to find in Germany and the Czech Republic. But that is everything I can really tell you about Young Master Brewery for the moment. If you guys want to learn more about this brewery, then you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So let's go on and have a little look at the beer itself. So as you can see, this one is a little 330 milliliter can. I think I paid like $20, 20 Hong Kong dollars or something for this, so that's about £2 sterling, somewhere in the region of like $2.50 American, like €2.25, something like that for those of you watching there too. Plain silver top on the can. As I said, these little 330 cans are the ones that you find in Circle K stores here in Hong Kong, and there are always different ones coming out actually. So certainly looks the part. This is a part of a series that these guys do. There is the American one, which you'll see reviewed in a couple of videos time, and they'll probably bring out an Australian one and a German one and stuff like that as time goes on. But yeah, really nicely presented beer. There you can see the Young Master Brewery symbol at the top there, and the other symbol that they have is they're using Yakima Chief hops in this one as well, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, the little pants thing that you can see on the side of the sail there, that's another symbol of this company that you'll see in different places. But yeah, 6% hazy New England, whatever you want to call it, IPA this one. The hops in this beer are Nelson Sauvin, Superdelic and Motueka. Superdelic is one that I hadn't heard of actually, which was quite interesting. So Superdelic apparently gives you about 10% alpha acid. It was created in 2012 and then released in 2017, and it's supposed to give you like red fruit and sort of candied fruit flavours and aromas. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that comes out in the flavour of this one. But Nelson Sauvin and Motueka we know quite well. Nelson Sauvin, 16% alpha acid, it gives you that lovely kind of white, green, grapey sort of character. And then Motueka, it's about 8% alpha acid, and it gives you this big, juicy, sort of zesty, limey note. So these are all things that you should keep in mind with these hops. But yeah, great selection of hops in this one. I'm very curious to see what Superdelic's like. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll have a look at it. So yeah, the Hop Around the World New Zealand edition from Young Master Brewery. I will point out as well that this beer is not in its freshest condition. This one has been in my fridge for a little while because, you know, I was trying to just get through all the IPAs and stuff like that as quickly as I could, just so they didn't go bad. But anyway, as you can see, when we poured this beer, it came out with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. That's faded away to be a nice kind of thinner foamy layer there. But then yeah, you've got the ring around the edge of the glass, which is still lingering there, kind of medium-sized bubbles there, but yeah, kind of half finger of a white cream coloured head that has just faded away to be pretty much nothing at this point. Colour-wise, you can see this beer's come out as being a little bit like a mango juice colour. I always like comparing the appearance of New England IPAs to different fruit juices because that's just what they remind me of. So remember, the colour of your beer can depend on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar is caramelised and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But yeah, you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different kinds of IPAs. But yeah, the level of haze in this one for a 6%er is pretty much what you'd expect. If I put my hand behind the glass there, you can see how hazy this one is. The level of haze in these beers often depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. And that can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. But yeah, this one has a fair little bit of haziness to it, considering that it's 6%, but it's certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest within the New England hazy category that you're going to find. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. One or two bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass at the bottom there, and a few little ones just going up toward the surface of the liquid there. But all in all, this beer looks pretty much as you would expect from a New England hazy IPA, no doubt in my mind about that. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for the appearance. Let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma of this one there. I'm very curious about this. Oh, that does smell quite nice actually. So it's given you, I will say straight away, it's given you everything you'd expect of the style, to be honest with you. You get a nice little bit of kind of smooth, bready, malty base in there. You're also getting a nice kind of quite big green component, quite big bright green component in this one, and you're also getting that nice kind of fruity character. It's a little bit more kind of tropical and things than I was expecting, to be honest with you, but quite a wee bit of citrusy, zesty character as well. But yeah, for me, this is actually quite a wheaty leaning New England IPA. So as I've explained with this style many times, for me there are 6 elements to think about with it. So you have the kind of farmhousey and yeasty character and the rye leaning grainy side of things. Those are a bit more prominent in American brewed New England IPAs, particularly from New England itself. But then you've also got the wheaty bitiness, the oaty creaminess, the barley malt bread, and also the kind of sweetness, if you like. So yeah, for me, this is quite a wheaty leaning New England IPA. It has got a little touch of sweetness to it, and you get quite a bit of the barley malt as well. But yeah, it's just from the nose, it strikes me as being quite wheaty leaning. So I like that. I do like that about this one. Yeah, on the let's just break the aroma down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, as we always do. So the backbone of the beer, it has this lovely, you've got a bit of that kind of fresh, white bready, you know, like hedgehog roll type thing coming out with this one. So yeah, fresh, white bready hedgehog roll in there, absolutely. On top of that, you've got like a little bit, there is a little bit of like a Jacob's cream cracker, woody sort of note to the beer. So yeah, Jacob's cream cracker, a little bit of a woodiness going on, but you know, that takes a bit of a back seat. And then you get that lovely kind of, you get a little bit of a kind of fresh, fluffy, like sweet brown bread in this one. So yeah, lovely kind of fresh, sweet, fluffy brown bread. There's quite a lot of white bread in this one as well though. Yeah, lots of the white bread from the barley malt in there. Kind of just jumping out of it at you. But yeah, the wheat for me is quite prominent. You can smell the wheat kind of densifying out the you can smell the wheat sort of densifying out the white bready characters in this one, and at the back of the nose you're getting a wee bit of that sort of you've got a wee bit of that sort of bitey character with this one. So yeah, the way it goes, the way that goes is quite nice. I do like a little bit of a more, I think that probably is going to suit this beer because it seems to be, the Motueka is going to give you quite a lot of lime and things. So yeah, it's going to give you quite a lot of that big sort of limey character. So I think having the wheaty bitiness in there might balance the beer out a little bit more. But yeah, above the wheat, you can certainly get a wee bit of oaty character in this one. I'd be curious to know what, if they're using New Zealand malts in this as well, actually, because that would be quite an interesting thing. Because, you know, wheat from different countries can behave in a different way. Like European wheat's a bit more bitey, whereas American wheat's a bit smoother. The oats can be different as well. European oats are a bit more creamy, whereas American oats are a bit drier, I think. So yeah, I'm curious with this one because you get a bit more of a kind of drier oaty character out of this. But the thing you have to be aware of with oaty character in these beers too is that it can often be an indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is. Essentially, the creamier the oats smell and taste, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. And this beer is not at its prime condition, if you like. So yeah, I think this one was canned back in November of 2023, so I'm drinking this one at about 4 months old actually, so we'll keep that in mind. But yeah, with the oaty character in this one, you do get a bit of the creaminess in there, you get a little bit of the drier oaty side of things, but then you've also got a little bit of like Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type note as well, and there's a wee bit of McVitie's Digestive Biscuit coming out of this one too. So yeah, a good few things going on with this beer actually in the malty base, and the kind of things that you'd expect, to be honest with you. Now let's have a wee look at the green component with this one. As I said, this beer actually has quite a bright, quite pungent green component, and the thing we need to remember with IPAs is that there are 3 types of hoppings we can use. Early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil, sorry, that usually gives you a lot of bitterness and a deep dank flavour and aroma. Late addition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil, that gives you a little bit of bitterness, but it also gives you quite a bit of flavour and aroma, and it's going to translate to being a very bright, zesty sort of green component in terms of flavour and aroma. Dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, is going to be pretty much all about the flavour and aroma, and it's going to give you, pardon me, it's going to give you quite a, it's going to give you that kind of brighter green component again. So yeah, weigh all of that just pieces together, I think is very, very nice. So yeah, for me, this has got quite a pungent green component actually. So you get a little bit of earthiness, you get a little bit of herbal character, but very bright in terms of its floral notes, and quite grassy and zesty. And if I was to guess, I would say that it's probably Motueka that's going to give you a lot of the zestiness in this one. Nelson Sauvin is capable of giving you big sort of piney resinous characteristics, but yeah, I am getting quite a bit of that big floral aromaticity. Let's look at the fruity side of things then, just to round off the aroma section. So for me, aroma wise, this beer, it's got you can certainly smell the influence of the Nelson Sauvin and the Motueka, and for me these hops are quite obvious because we've had them so many times, but you can smell that big zesty kind of juicy lime from the Motueka, and you can smell that more oily sort of white green grapey gooseberry type character from the Nelson Sauvin. But there are a few other things going on in this too. Like you can, if you take the aroma in like really deeply, you will get that sort of candied strawberry, like cranberry type note. It was saying red fruits for Superdelic, so I'm getting a sort of like cranberry, strawberry kind of thing. But I'm also getting a little bit of like a sharper peach, and I don't know where that's coming from because I don't think it's supposed to come from Superdelic. But yeah, you get that nice juicy strawberry, cranberry type note, which, as I say, I'm guessing is from Superdelic. There's a wee bit of that like candied, the Haribo strawberry sweet type aroma coming out of this one. But then yeah, big juicy limes, more oily, definitely like some more oily gooseberry type notes as well, and just there's a wee bit of like sharper peach behind it or something like that. Yeah, the way all of that pieces together, I think, is really quite interesting with this one. So really nice smelling beer actually, this one. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beers before you get stuck into them, and you're always going to find stuff that's new to you. Like for example, as I say, Superdelic, I don't think I've ever had that hop before, at least knowingly, in any review, and that's after 4,000 odd reviews. So yeah, there's always a little bit you can learn about different beers. So yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma. Always have the experience with craft beer, but I think it's about time that we taste this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is the very first Hop Around the World from Young Master Brewery in Wong, Chuk, the New Zealand edition. There is an American edition as well, which you'll see reviewed a little bit later on, but it's a hazy IPA at 6% ABV with Nelson Sauvin, Motueka and Superdelic in it. Let's crack on and see what we get. Slàinte, skål, cheers, or as apparently they say in New Zealand, char. That's pretty solid. As I was suspecting it would be, a little bit more kind of wheaty leaning New England, quite citrusy and zesty, and then it's got that big kind of floral green component behind it too. It's nice, solid beer. yeah, that's really nice, that one. So it gets a thumbs up from me. Gets smoother as well the more that you drink of it, actually. But yeah, it gives everything you want. Nice kind of bready backbone, bit of creaminess, bit of wheaty bitiness, bit of floral character, and a wee bit of a more, I say it's a bit more citrusy leaning rather than anything else. But let's do as we always do. We'll break the beer down and describe it for you a bit more in depth as we always do. So yeah, middle third of your palate then. The backbone of the beer, you've got that nice kind of fresh, kind of hedgehog bread roll character, like fresh white hedgehog bread roll. You can feel that just forming the backbone of this beer. But as you go further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a little touch of like woodiness coming out of this one. So there's a wee bit of that nice kind of woody character to the beer. But that's quite minimal compared to other things. So the bread crust, the woodiness, then you've got a wee bit of that Jacob's cream cracker as well. So yeah, interesting stuff. So yeah, you've got that really nice sort of crackery note to it as well. Yeah, bread crusty sort of thing, Jacob's cream cracker. Then above that you're starting to get the actual bready notes out of the beer. So for me there's a layer of like sweet wholemeal brown bread in this one. And then above that you've got the white bready character as well. So those bready notes are quite, yeah, those bready notes, they're sweet, yeah, sweeter brown bread, sweeter white bread, and those bready notes, they've got just that little bit of sweetness, and it gets sweeter and sweeter into the aftertaste. So yeah, I like the way that pieces together in this one, so that gets a thumbs up from me for sure. Interesting stuff. On the on top of that, with those two bready layers, you can feel there's another white bready layer in there that's a little bit more dense, and that's the wheat, and it gives you that wee bit of bitiness. So you can feel that more dense, bitey, wheaty character coming out of this beer for sure. So yeah, a little bit of a more dense, wheaty, bitey sort of thing to this one, which I do really quite like. And further back on that middle third of your palate, you start to get a wee bit of yeah, you start to get a wee bit more of that, just, yeah, that little bit of bitiness to it. But then the wheat smoothens out the further forward you come on the palate actually, and then above all of that you're starting to get the oaty notes, and the more that I drink of this beer, the more oaty character it seems to show. So if you go down above the wheaty layer, if you go down the middle line of your palate, you're still going to get quite a nice kind of creamy oaty note in there, but as you move out toward the edges of the palate, you're going to get more of you are going to get a little bit more of a kind of oaty, bitey sort of thing coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, I think the cream, I'm surprised how creamy the oats still are at this point as well, so it's quite interesting. But yeah, in the middle of the palate, in the dead centre, you've got a little circle there where you've got a wee bit of like Werther's Original Buttered Candy Butterscotch, and yeah, you've got that little bit of sweetness there into the aftertaste. So yeah. So yeah, a little bit of say Werther's Original Buttered Candy Butterscotch, and a wee bit of like a McVitie's Digestive Biscuit as well. So yeah, the way all of that just pieces together, the malty base in this one is quite nice actually. You can feel that in the middle third of your palate there, which is awesome. So yeah, the way that goes together is good. So I think we've covered everything we need about the middle third of the palate. Let's go to the back third of your palate then. As I've often said, back third of your palate is going to give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities, plus you've got the yeastiness. And sweeter flavours come out further forward in the palate, drier and more bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of brown bread in the base, the white bread on the top, and a wee bit of the wheaty bitiness there. Then the base of that back third of your palate, you get the kind of fresh hedgehoggy white bready bread crust again. Above that, you get the more kind of wholemeal brown bready character in there, but as I say, it's a little bit sweeter. Then that layer is just a little bit lighter and more airy. Then you've got the white bready character above that, which again is a little bit lighter and more airy. And then you can feel the more bitey aspects of the wheat just creeping over the top of everything. And then you've also got the yeasty character that sits above all of that. Yeah, you've also got the kind of yeasty character that that sits in there. The yeasty character in this one's quite nice actually. So in the middle of the yeast, you've got a wee bit of that wholemeal brown bready character in there. Then around it, you've got a more rusticy, sweet, woody, crackery brown bread. And then the outside of all of that is the more kind of, like bread crusty shell, if you like. So yeah, the yeasty character on this one is quite nice actually, and it sort of sweetens up and dries up into the aftertaste, but definitely you can feel the back third of your palate, the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together in this beer is really, really nice. The malty yeasty side of this one is pretty damn good. So on the hoppy side of things, then let's go to the green component. Obviously this beer is a few months old, so the hoppy character is starting to drop out of a little bit, but as we say, New England IPAs rely on late addition and dry hopping. West Coast IPAs use all three types that we mentioned earlier. But yeah, this one, it actually has quite a smooth green component, and it has mellowed out the more that I've drank of it, in honesty. So yeah, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness in there, and as you move further forward, it's got a wee bit of a herbal note to it. Not so much of the way pine resin to this one, but you can feel it gets more pungent and more pungent as you move toward the front corners of the tongue. So yeah, nice bit of floral aromaticity coming out of this beer actually. So yeah, the way it goes together, I think, is really very, very nice. So, round the front curve of the tongue, you're definitely getting more of that kind of zesty, grassy character, which, like I was saying before, I would say is probably most likely down to the, it is most likely down to the Motueka in this instance. But yeah, I really do like how that pieces together in this particular beer for sure. So yeah, let's move on to the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things, the last part of our flavour section. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, a little bit of brown bread in the base, the white bread on top of that, and you get a wee touch of the wheaty bitiness there too. But the base of that front third of your palate, yeah, fresh brown bready bread crust, wholemeal brown bread, the white bread on top of that, then the softer kind of wheaty character in there. So yeah, the way that goes together is pretty nice as well. And then above that, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So let's focus on that fruity part of the beer just now. So yeah, for me, the fruity part of the beer is kind of what you'd expect if you know these hops, although at the same time, at the very back of that front third of your palate, there's a little bit of a sharper like peach or something like that going on. But then yeah, as you move further forward, you can feel you do feel that nice kind of oily, smooth that smooth oily like green grapey. I was nearly going to say grapefruit there, which is why I stuttered. You can feel that more kind of, white, green, grapey, oily, gooseberry type note from the Nelson Sauvignon forming the backbone of the beer, and then just as you reach the kind of front tip of your tongue, it's got a little bit more of that zesty, it's got a wee bit of that more zesty floral aromaticity coming out of it. So and then you've got the lime in there as well from the Motueka. So the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really, really nice, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, the way everything goes together in that one is very, very nice. So yeah, it takes a little bit of time. The Superdelic, I think, takes a bit of a back seat, to be honest with you. You've seen how long it was since I took a sip of the beer, and it's only now that I'm starting to get a wee bit of like that candied strawberry. It's like a candied strawberry. It reminds me of those Haribo, the big strawberries that you get from Haribo. It's got a wee bit of that going on. Yeah, there's a wee bit of that going on with this beer. When you take the beer in, actually, and you have the liquid kind of fresh in your tongue, you do get a wee bit of the juicy strawberry, cranberry type thing. But yeah, it does fade away a little bit, and then the zestiness of the Motueka limes take over, and then you start to get the more oily Nelson Sauvin gooseberries and things coming out. So yeah, there's a few interesting things going on in this one from the fruity side of things. Superdelic, I think, is a hop that I need to investigate a wee bit more. But yeah, I think we've said everything we need to about the flavour in this one. This is quite a floral, limey, and kind of wheaty, bitey New England IPA. I think that's a good way to kind of summarise this one. But yeah, mouthfeel then. Let's look at the mouthfeel. So mouthfeel wise, mid-bodied, right in the middle of the scale. Carbonation is very smooth. Yeah, carbonation is very smooth in this one. You have a little bit of a wetness to the mouthfeel. It's got a very slight oiliness to it as well, which I like. So yeah, slight oiliness, nice little bit of wetness. There's a little bit of creaminess to this beer. I think it would have been creamier when it was a bit fresher, but there's a wee bit of wheaty bite too. In terms of IBUs, I think this is like 25-ish IBUs. I don't think it's quite the full 30, but I could be wrong on that. Take my IBU counts with a pinch of salt. It's my weakest point of beer reviewing. But yeah, nice little bit of sort of floral aromaticity and hoppy bitterness in there, but not too much. The malt base has a bit of dryness underneath, bit of smoothness in the middle, and a wee touch of like creaminess and smoothness on top. Then you've got the fruity character, which is a little bit oily, a little bit soft from the Superdelic as well. And then you've got mostly, I think the most dominant part is that zesty limey character from the Young Master. So yeah, I think that's everything we really need to say about this one. An interesting beer this, and I'm glad that I finally got around to reviewing it for you here on the channel. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was the first of my little Young Master cans that I'm going to work my way through. This was the Hop Around the World New Zealand edition. The next one will be the US Hop Around the World, and then we've got some West Coast IPAs that we're going to work our way through as well. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Young Master as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until then, slàinte, skål, cheers. Check out my social media, check out Young Master's social media, try some of these Circle K release beers, and I will catch you guys on another review very, very soon. Ciao just now.